All right. So, starting us off, well, once again, welcome to our scholarship and financial aid for international students. Um, to start us off, I want to share a little bit about what the cost of attendance looks like, because in order to understand what the funding opportunities and all of those are, we have to first understand what it actually costs to go to center. So, the comprehensive fee to attend center uh, this current year. So these are information from the 2024-2025 academic year is about $66,000. So the comprehensive fee includes your tuition, your room and board. So it includes everything except your textbooks. So to sort of break that figure down, out of those $66,000, about $52,000 goes to your tuition. So these are all of your academic fees. And then on top of your tuition, you'll know that Center is a residential college. So everybody is required to live on campus. So you have to pay for room. You also have to pay for board, which is your meal plan, because of course, when you're when you're living and studying on campus, you also need to eat. So room and board is about $14,000. So with the two figures combined, tuition and room and board, it makes up the comprehensive fee. So it's about $66,000 for this year for all center students. Now, not not everyone pays this price because we provide scholarship and financial aid to all of our students. So more than 90% of our students will get some kind of scholarship or financial aid. So this is a little bit about the cost. On the next page, we also included some additional expenses that you need to consider when you're studying in the US. So these are additional expenses that international students tend to incur when they study in the US, whether you're studying at Center or whether you're studying elsewhere in the US. So those additional expenses are about uh, $5,700 this year. So those things include your health insurance. Health insurance is mandatory for all international students who are going to be on F1 student visa. Of course, you have to budget in your travel as well, because depending on where you're flying from, air tickets can be expensive. So you need to budget in that money as well, because you need to get to the US to go to college here. In addition to that, of course, you have to buy textbooks, classroom materials. So that's about $1,200. And the two other additional expenses that we've built in is the personal expenses. So, of course, your meals, all of those are already included in the comprehensive fee, but you might want to spend money outside of campus to go eat out with your friends, or you want to buy toiletries or things that you need for your personal for your own personal usage. So those are set at 1,300. Of course, these are all estimated. And then we also have a new student fee. So every new center student is required to pay about $300 for student programming and all of that. So these are some of the additional expenses on top of your, comprehensive fees that you saw earlier. So with the two combined, I guess the entire cost of attendance for international students tend to be around $72,000 this year. So that's a little bit about costs. I know we're starting with costs, but now we're going to talk about how you can make that affordable. So here at Center, we provide generous merit scholarship and a lot of financial aid as well. And to sort of break it down into different types of scholarship, I'll go through each bucket. There are three different categories of scholarship, and I'll explain to you what they are. So starting with the first column that you see on the left, the general merit scholarships, they are great because you're automatically considered for our general merit scholarship when you apply to Center. So as soon as you have finished completing your admission application, you're automatically considered for one of our general merit scholarship. They range anywhere from $15,000 a year to $30,000 a year, depending on the strength of your admission application. Um, so you don't need to do anything additional as long as you have completed your admission application. And they are not just a one-time merit scholarship. As long as you maintain the academic requirements for them, you can expect those merit scholarships to be in your account every year. Every year that you're at center up to 4 years. So general merit scholarship, everything's automatic. That's great. Now moving on to the second column, which is the special scholarships, or we call them special interest scholarships. Those are based on a special interest area, whether it's learning a language, whether it's, pursuing performing arts at center or studio arts. They are also renewable every year. They are up to $5,000 a year. And the great thing about special interest scholarship is that you can stack them. If you receive one of them, you can stack them on top of your general merit scholarship. So you get more scholarship money each year. Of course, you can apply to all three of the special interest scholarships, but you're only eligible to receive one because there are responsibilities and requirements for the scholars in each of those programs. So if you are a recipient of a language scholarship, you will be required to take courses. You're also required to do some things for the program. So we want to make sure that you have a balanced schedule in your academic career. So you're only allowed to receive one of the special interest scholarships, even if you apply to all three. So language scholarship, pretty self-explanatory. If you're pursuing a language study and you want to continue studying that language in college, you can apply for that. Performing arts is theater, musical performances, those things. Studio arts is more of like visual arts, working with, painting, drawing, ceramics. We have a lot of fantastic studio arts programs as well. So special interest scholarships, they're a little different from general merit scholarships because they require a separate application. So you'll have to apply separately in addition to your admission application. So that's the one caveat with the special interest scholarships. From there, we're going to move on to our third and final category of scholarship, which is our Premier Scholarship. And I won't go too much into details about the program because the remaining half of the presentations dedicated for the Lincoln Scholars Program. So all I'll say now, it's a Fulbright Plus program. Dr. Robert Chockoff, who's the director of the program, will be able to explain to you the ins and out of the program and all of that. The one logistical thing that I'll mention here is that the Premier Scholarship, the Lincoln Scholarship Program, there is a separate application for that as well, in addition to your admission application. The scholarship application is due on December 1st, regardless of whatever your admission application plan is. So on December 1st, if you want to be considered for the Lincoln Scholars Program, you have to, number one, complete your admission application. Very important. We do not review incomplete admission application, and we will not consider students who only complete the Lincoln Scholarship application. So you have to have a completed admission application as well as the separate Lincoln Scholarship application by December 1st. December 1st. Remember, you have to complete both. You can't just complete one. So with that, I'll move on. Of course, there are a lot of information that I've shared today, but they're also on our website as well. And to give you a little bit more information about need-based financial aid, so we do a combination of merit scholarships that you saw earlier, as well as some need-based financial aid, although the need-based financial aid are limited. So those are essentially grants that center provides to students who have some need-based financial need, in addition to your general merit scholarships and other merit scholarships. And the average grant in recent years has been about $11,000. So those are based on, how much funding is available each year for international students. So after an international student receive a general merit scholarship or any kind of merit scholarship, some need-based financial aid, the cost of attendance for international students comes down to about $25,000 per year. So that's the figure that if you're asking for what the expected family contribution is, that's the amount that you're probably looking for. So that is, of course, if you are not a recipient of the Lincoln Scholarship, $25,000 in cost of attendance per year is what you're looking at. in terms of your financial obligation to attend center. Um, we will talk about what kind of documentations we require. And of course, with the Lincoln Scholarship Program, if you receive the Lincoln Scholarship Program, we take care of most of the cost of attendance for you. Um, Please note that every year we select 10 Lincoln Scholars, typically about 3 to 4, sometimes 5 of those are international students. So that's a little bit about the Lincoln Scholarship Program once again. So what do you do from here? How do you apply for scholarship and financial aid? So you will notice that Center is now a CSS profile school, but that's only for domestic admission at this moment. If you're gonna be an F1 visa student holder, um, you do not need to complete the CSS profile. Instead, you complete our certificate of finance form, which is an online form on our website. It's free, it's online, and we ask you to fill out that form based on what your family financial circumstances are. And once again, a lot of students ask if they could just apply for admission and not fill out this form. Without this form, your admission application is incomplete. So make sure to complete this form as well. I've written down the link to the form here. So this is a required form for us to consider you for admission as well as scholarship and financial aid. In addition to that, once again, if you're applying for any of our special interest scholarship or the Lincoln Scholars Program, there is a separate application for that. So in addition to your admission application, if you're applying to any of those scholarship program, make sure to complete those separate applications as well. And here are some of the don't do these. Once again, I said we do not require the CSS profile from international applicants who will be on F1 student visa. If you are a dual citizen or a US permanent resident, you will be asked to fill out the CSS profile. But if you are an F1 student visa student, please do not ask for the fee waiver because we don't require the CSS profile, so you don't need to fill that one out. And the other thing that I'll say is to not just apply for the scholarship. So you saw that Lincoln Scholars Program, any of the special interest scholarships, they have a separate application. Only completing those does not mean that you will be considered for this scholarship. You also have to apply for admission, and this is a common mistake that some students will do. They'll only complete the scholarship application, and they will not complete the actual admission application to center. So please do not make that mistake. Please apply for admission as well, because otherwise you will not be considered for admission or any of the scholarships that you work so hard to apply for. In addition to that, the other thing that I'll say is just like the CSS profile, if you are going to be on F1 student visa, do not fill out the FAFSA because that does not apply to F1 student visa students. Certificate of finance form, which is our financial aid form for F1 students, is the only financial document or financial form that we're asking for. So don't do these number 3. The last thing about scholarship and financial aid that I'll say is F1 students, we have other scholarship programs at Center. F1 students are not eligible to apply for the Grissom Scholars Program or the Bonner Scholars Program or the New Horizons Program because they require U.S. federal aid eligibility. So if you are an international student who needs an F1 student visa to come to the U.S., you will not be eligible to apply to these programs. So once again, you know what you're eligible for, you know what you're not eligible for, and all of these information will be on our website. So feel free to check those out as well. And last but not least, that was the end of the general scholarship and financial aid session for international students. Before I hand things off to Dr. Shalkoff, I want to let you know that if you are new to the whole center admission process or center, and if you have not received any of our mailing, feel free to scan this QR code. All of the information that I've shared with you today are also going to be on this QR code as well. If you have general questions that aren't answered by the website, feel free to email us to our general admission inbox at intladmission@center.edu. If you have hyper-specific questions that only apply to you and you are unable to find an answer to those questions, you can email me as well. But I guarantee that you'll be able to find the answer to your question on our website. And with that, I am gonna let Dr. Robert Shotkoff take over. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, but also the Lincoln Scholars Program at Center. So, Dr. Shotkoff, I'm passing the mic to you.
Jojo, before I begin, I think that there's one question in here about is a dual citizen living outside of the US still considered an international student?
That's a great question. I forgot to mention that we're going to have a Q&A at the end, but I'm happy to answer this question quickly. A U.S. dual citizen who is currently outside the U.S., educated abroad, are considered international student for admission purposes, but scholarship and financial aid, you will be considered just like any other domestic U.S. citizens or dual citizens. Because if you are a US citizen or a US passport holder, even if you're educated abroad, your scholarship and financial aid consideration are the same as any domestic students in the US who are in the US, because depending on your financial aid eligibility, you will be eligible for US federal aid. So there are additional resources for you there. So some of the things that we mentioned today apply to you, but in terms of, specific US federal financial aid eligibility, you have greater resources there. Does that sort of answer your question? I don't know who asked the question, but if you have follow-up questions, I'm happy to answer those during the Q&A. All right. Well, with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and I am going to let Dr. Shawkoff take over.
Well, good morning, everybody. I have done my best to answer most of your questions in the online chat. I'm going to ask Joy to kind of go through that chat and make sure that I have not provided any inaccurate responses to your questions. I have some confidence that I was able to answer most of what I got to there. Yes, we will be sharing the recording with everyone who registered for today's session, and that includes everyone who is here and participating in real time. You can find the separate application for the Lincoln Scholarship just by accessing our website and going to scholarships, and then going to Premier Scholarships, going to Lincoln, and you can find the application there. But I'm sure that you are going to receive an email at some point in time from Joy that will allow you very easy access to that application. What I'm going to do is, first of all, to briefly introduce myself and then to talk about the Lincoln Scholars Program. I will ask Joy, if he would, as he's kind of answering other questions, if he sees a question that is particularly related to the programming of the Lincoln Scholars Program, which is what I'm going to be explaining right now, that he just go ahead and ask those in real time, and I'll respond to them as we go. However, any questions about the application process or the selection process, we will answer those questions at during the question and answer session at the very end. Okay, so any kind of program related questions, I will be happy to answer those as we go. But again, anything that has to do with our application process or our selection process, we're going to deal with all of those at the very end. Okay, and I thank you for understanding that from the start. Okay, so everybody, good morning again. My name is Dr. Robert Shalkoff, and I am the director of the Lincoln Scholars Program. I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of the Lincoln Scholars Program, and then I'll be answering your questions about the program as we go, and we'll talk about the logistics of applying to, as well as what the selection process looks like once we get to the end of my presentation. So first of all, let me thank you all for participating today. I'm grateful that there are so many of you here, and we're going to get right into, as soon as I can get myself out of this. Here we go. Okay, we're going to go right into my presentation. Yeah, so this is an overview of the Lincoln Scholars Program, which, as Joy explained earlier in the presentation, is one of our premier scholarship programs. And it is one of the premier scholarship programs that is what we call a full ride plus. And full ride plus means that the Lincoln Scholars Program covers all of your comprehensive fee for attendance at Centre College. So it covers all of your tuition, all of your room, all of your board. And then the plus is the additional academic year programming, as well as the additional summer enrichment programming. The Lincoln Scholars Program covers all of that as well. And finally, I think it's important to note that the Lincoln Scholars Program is the only full ride plus scholarship at Centre College that international students are eligible for. So I know that someone asked before whether international students were eligible for the Grissom Scholars Program, which is another full ride plus scholarship program at Centre. No, you are not. You are only eligible for the Lincoln Scholars Program. Okay, so what is the Lincoln Scholars Program? Well, it is a program that is looking for exceptional young people like yourselves who possess not only a deep desire to change our world for the better, but also the demonstrated capacity to do so through the intellect that they possess, but also, and importantly, through the activities in which they are already engaged as high school students or as gap year students. We often have questions about whether gap year students are eligible for the Lincoln Scholars Program. Yes, absolutely. And I would say that a good number of not only our applicants who are international students, but also a good number of international students who have been named Lincoln Scholars are gap year students. But we are looking for, regardless of whether you're coming right out of high school or whether you're on a gap year, we are looking for people who are really serious about making a change and a positive change in our world, and people who have already demonstrated some capacity to do that through the activities in which they have been involved in the past and are involved in currently. The Lincoln Scholars Program is named after the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. It honors his rise to greatness from very humble and poor beginnings in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and it also honors John Todd Stewart, who was one of the first graduates of Centre College, who was Lincoln's friend and who encouraged Lincoln to study law and became his first law partner. The goals of the program are, number one, to build on the world-class liberal arts education that you are receiving from Centre College as a Centre College student. As a Lincoln Scholar, you are first and foremost a Centre College student, and then on top of that, you're a Lincoln Scholar. And so the program, one of the program's goals is to build on the liberal arts education that you're getting and to further hone and broaden your intellect. It also is designed to promote and develop the grit and the tenacity that's necessary for change makers in our world. It also will help you learn how to better channel your drive and your motivation and your desire to make change into actionable elements. And then importantly, it also provides programming to help you develop and expand your capacity to be a change agent, but also your capacity to be a compassionate and empathic change agent. And then finally, the program, specifically through the activities that I'm going to describe going forward, helps you build and further develop the skills and the creativity that you're going to need to be a change maker in our world, that you're going to need to be an innovator in our world, and that you're going to need to be a leader in our world. And the way that we do that is through two types of programming. The first type of programming is academic year programming, and that occurs when Centre College is in session, so approximately from the end of August until the middle of May. And then the second is through the summer programming, which happens during our summer break. So to begin with, if you are named a Lincoln Scholar, the first thing that you'll do in your first academic year at Centre is to arrive about 10 days earlier than the rest of your first year graduating cohort. And you will be engaged in an orientation that is led by both myself, the director of the program, and also by student peer leaders. Those are second year and third year and fourth year Lincoln Scholars. There's both on-campus and off-campus programming. It lasts for approximately 8 to 10 days. It begins with a colloquium on the namesake of the scholarship, Abraham Lincoln. We look to his leadership, we look to his accomplishments, but importantly, we also look to his struggles, his challenges, and his failures as a leader and as a human to understand the different perspectives and capacities, as well as challenges that we as leaders and change makers face. Then we get into working on your own leadership strengths, your own leadership skills, analyzing those and identifying strengths and challenges that you face as a leader, and plotting a course for you to further develop yourself as a leader for the 4 years that you will be at Centre College as a Lincoln Scholar. And then part of that is also going to be charting what your pathway or what your trajectory as a Lincoln Scholar might look like, thinking about initially what type of summer enrichment experiences you might want to do, what type of study abroad you might want to do, what type of projects you might want to be engaged in. And then you enter Centre College as a first-year student. You're with your cohort for the full year, and we come back to revitalize ourselves as a cohort at the beginning of your second year, your sophomore year, with a unique retreat experience, so that you can reconnect with your cohort and we can reevaluate some of the pathways that you began charting as a first year. Next, you'll be involved in something called Lincoln Seminars, and these happen on the first and the third Thursdays of each month. You can imagine them as mini TED Talks. And these seminars run in the evenings on the first and the third Thursday of every month. They are in person, although some of them are live streamed. They are scholar-led. An individual scholar presents on a topic about which they're both passionate and knowledgeable, and in which they want to raise awareness within their peers, their Lincoln Scholars peers, but also anybody who they have invited to attend these informative and interactive events. And today is the first Thursday of the month, so we're getting ready for a Lincoln seminar tonight by a Lincoln scholar who's a junior, a third-year student. His name is Nick Karen. He's going to be presenting on the politics and the sociology of infectious diseases, and why some are targeted for research and vaccine development, and why others are not. So that's something for us to look forward to today. Also, during the academic year, you will engage with me, the director of the Lincoln Scholars Program, who's also the lead mentor for the program. You'll be meeting with me as a first year twice each month for about 30 minutes each time. And this is your time to talk about your individual goals, your individual aspirations, and your individual plans for the summer, or for the projects that you want to be engaged in as a Lincoln Scholar during the academic year. And I think that Lincoln Scholars find this time to be really helpful and formative for them as they grow into their roles as being not only change agents of the future, but change agents on campus and enacting different and positive changes on our campus here in Danville, Kentucky. We also have something called breakout seminars, and this is where we meet people who are already out in the world working as professionals or working in nonprofits or in NGOs who are already about the business of making positive change in our world. We've had journalists from the New York Times. We've had climate scientists. We're getting ready to welcome back a Lincoln Scholar alum from Myanmar, who is working in the realm of policy and policy development in healthcare. Then we move into the summer enrichment experiences. And as a Lincoln Scholar, you will be involved in three major and somewhat lengthy summer enrichment experiences. And we'll talk a little bit about the funding of those as well, too. So first of all, as a rising sophomore and as a rising junior, and what that means is in the summer between your first year and your second year, and in the summer between your third and your, between your second and your third year, you are going to be leaving campus. You might be headed to a destination overseas, you might be headed to a destination within the United States, but you're going to be engaged in a 5-week experience where you will be perhaps volunteering, you will be perhaps doing research, you might be doing an internship to further develop your capacity to be an agent for change, and to get some practical experience, some hands-on experience doing the work that change agents do in our world to enact positive change. And we have certain partner organizations that we work with for this. You will first, as a rising sophomore, so at the end of your sophomore, at the end of your first year, choose one of 3 themes, and then you will pursue that theme with a partner organization. So if you choose With Outstretched Hands, Serving Humankind, then you are either going to be working with our nonprofit partner in Merida, Mexico, in community empowerment activities, or you're going to be working with the Shepherd Higher Education Coalition on Poverty, working in nonprofits combating poverty and hunger within the United States. If you choose Engaging Big Ideas and Challenges, you are going to be volunteering with the Foundation for International Medical Relief of Children in Costa Rica, helping them to provide health care to those refugees and undocumented immigrants who fall through the healthcare system in Costa Rica. And if you choose Grit and Tenacity in the Making, then you're going to be doing an approximately 4-week wilderness experience with the National Outdoor Leadership School, where you will go completely off the grid for 4 weeks, backpacking and sea kayaking in Alaska, or rock climbing in Wyoming, or horse packing in Montana, and a myriad of other activities in which Lincoln Scholars have engaged. These are all funded by the Lincoln Scholars Program. The only thing that you need to do is to choose the one that you think best fits your interests and your goals, and then pursue it over your first summer. The second themed summer will require you to choose one of the 2 remaining themes that are left. So if you chose With Outstretched Hands as a rising sophomore, then you'll choose between Engaging Big Ideas and Challenges and Grit and Tenacity in the Making as a rising junior. And then you have another choice. You could do it with one of our pre-established partners. So you could do Engaging Big Ideas and Challenges with FEMRIC, or you could do Grit and Tenacity in the Making with Knowles, or you could choose and propose to do that at an alternate site. And so this year, some of the alternate sites were doing cancer research at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. They were doing work with nonprofits here in Lexington, Kentucky, working on educational outreach to students who come from families of low socioeconomic status, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you'd like to, you can propose and then pursue this second themed experience as a rising junior in another program other than the pre-established ones that we have. Okay. The final capstone project of being a Lincoln Scholar is called the Independent Pre-Professional Project. And you do this as a rising senior. So you do it during your last summer as a Lincoln Scholar, in between your junior and your senior year, in between your 3rd and your 4th year. And this is a little bit different than the second theme summer in that it's much longer. It's approximately 10 to 11 weeks. The planning for it and the topic, the issue that you're going to pursue or the project that you're going to complete is completely established by what you determine it to be. In other words, you're not choosing from the themes that we have established within the program. You're not choosing from a pre-established partner. You are striking out on your own to pursue what you would like to do. And looking at the 4 international Lincoln Scholars who are, sorry, the 5 international Lincoln Scholars who are currently seniors, 3 of them did theirs at big tech. So we had one at LinkedIn, one at Amazon, and then another at Google. We had one who was doing academic and scientific research. They were at the University of California, Berkeley. And then we had another one who was doing social science research, and they were at University of Pennsylvania. Okay, the Lincoln Forum is a place where Lincoln Scholars get to share their learning and the outcomes of the summer experiences that I just described to you. And it's a place where we share those learning and those outcomes with members of the campus and members of the community. And importantly, it's where Lincoln Scholars get inspired to do the wonderfully exciting things that their older peers are doing. So immediately as a first-year Lincoln Scholar, you would participate in the Lincoln Forum to learn about what those folks who are 1 year or 2 years or 3 years ahead of you in the program are already doing with their summers. And this gives you some ideas, it gives you some inspiration, it gives you a chance to kind of brainstorm with yourself and with me things that you might want to participate in as a Lincoln Scholar going forward. We also have 2 retreats each year. These are planned by the sophomore cohort. We just finished our retreat this past weekend. It's a full-day activity where all Lincoln Scholars come together to be in community and to pursue a common theme throughout the day that we are together. And this year's theme was not only embracing but learning from our differences, be they differences in perspectives or differences in nationalities or differences in sexual orientation or gender identity, but learning to kind of embrace our differences and then to build on the different perspectives that we bring to the table to create effective change agent collaborators and community. And as if all of this program weren't enough, this is the final thing that I want to share with you. If you would like to engage in projects outside of the summer, so maybe you have a pet project, a passion project that you want to engage in during the school year, there is budgeting for that, and you present a proposal, and if it's approved, then you have money to engage in a project that may be occurring on campus, or it may be occurring in your home community, but it's something that you're leading to bring about positive change. And just an example of that is the movement on campus to make sure that period products, so menstrual and feminine hygiene products, were available free of charge to all students on campus. And so if you come to campus and you go into any restroom on campus, you'll find that you can get feminine napkins and you can get tampons. They're there for free, and that was a self-initiated project and a bit of local advocacy and activism that 2 Lincoln Scholars engaged in. That's just one example. Other students use this to go to conferences. We have a student, a Lincoln Scholar from Kenya, who is right now at an international studies conference, and she has used funding from the self-initiated projects to pursue her participation and also the presentation that she is doing at that conference. Okay, you might be interested, and I know that this is really small, especially those of you who are looking on small screens, about what some of the outcomes of the Lincoln Scholars Program have been. We will be welcoming with you our 10th cohort, and we have 5 cohorts who have already fully completed the program. They're the L1s through the L5s. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights. We have folks who are Fulbright scholars. We have folks who are Humanity in Action Fellows. We have alums who are Knight Hennessy Scholars, which is a full ride to Stanford. And all of these include international students. We also have a Schwartzman Scholar, another international student. We have folks who are at graduate and PhD programs. Currently, we have international alums at Carnegie Mellon University, at Columbia University, at the University of Cincinnati. We have international alums who are at law school or getting ready to go to law school at places like Georgetown in Indiana. And then we have folks who are pursuing medical school. And we've got right now a current rising senior Lincoln Scholar who's getting ready to attend med school after she finishes graduating from Center as a Lincoln Scholar. We've also got folks who are out in the world and working, someone who is a consultant for the Ministry of Finance in Brazil. We've got an environmental scientist who is working and a computer scientist, both of whom are working here in the US. We've got folks working in the financial realm. So there's a Lincoln Scholar alum from Ethiopia who's working at Bank of America, et cetera, et cetera. So all sorts of exciting things happening after you finish